Things are never quite what they seem. We think we understand the world around us, but we really only see the outside, what it seems to be. I used to be just like you. I believed in humanity, the newspapers, soap commercials, politics, and history books. But one day, the world kicks you in the teeth, and you don't have any choice but to see things the way they really are. My name is Lucas Kane. My story is the one where an ordinary guy has something extraordinary happen to him. Maybe it was supposed to happen. Maybe it was my destiny or my karma or whatever. I know one thing for sure. Nothing's ever going to be the same again. It all started right here. Where else could it happen? New York, capital of the universe. The chessboard destiny chose for the last big game. I was just another pawn living my pawn's life. Until that night, when my life descended into chaos.
On one windy night in New York City, a typical man named Lucas Kane was enjoying a steak dinner and reading a novel titled The Tempest by Shakespeare at a local inner-city diner. But little did he know he'd be the culprit in an ancient ritualistic murder of an elderly man. Considering this is the beginning of the story, little is to be known about the history of this ancient ritual, but we'll unpack that as we go along. The story begins with Lucas Kane sitting in one of the restroom stalls, quivering with the door locked and shut. With a steak knife in his hand and blood streaming down both of his wrists, Lucas Kane is also having visions of a man sitting in the center of 1,000 candles. As these visions become more lucid, Kane's head twitches back and his eyes roll back as well. He rises up and begins to slowly walk in the same posture as the man in his visions. At this point, Lucas Kane appears to be fully possessed by the man he's visualizing, even displaying a change in his eyesight as if he was looking through a filter. With him and the cloaked man in his visions, motions becoming completely synchronized, he raises his blade and stabs the old man in the chest. But the murder wasn't complete. Lucas proceeds to stand over him and deliver 2 more blows to the left side of his chest, causing him to bleed out on the restroom floor. Once life ceased from the elderly man, the ritual was complete, and Lucas Kane was now aware of what he had just did. He had just committed a murder, but he had no recollection of what had just occurred. So when he first noticed the lifeless body lying on the restroom floor and himself being positioned over top of him, he jumps back out of fear of what he had just done, causing his mental state to take a downturn from stable to a state of depression. This peculiar act is the onset of a mentally taxing psychological thriller, which made an average man go insane. So Lucas Kane had just committed a murder inside a New York City diner. Now you would think that the ethical thing to do here is to alert the authorities and let them know that you blacked out and murdered a guy. With that option, you run the risk of getting 25 to life and never receiving the mental help you needed. Now, the option Lucas Kane took was to take matters into his own hands and discover why this attack on his psychosis occurred in the first place. But he was still in a state of shock, and he needed to get himself together quick.
I didn't want... It was like a dream. Quick. I've got to get out of here before somebody comes in here.
So once he gets his mind in order, he now begins to clean up the scene. First, he dragged the lifeless corpse of the old man into one of the stalls in an attempt to hide the body. Then he notices a small window and hopes that he could potentially escape through there. As he investigates it, he noticed that there are steel bars on the exterior of the window blocking his way of escape. With that option being exalted, he then proceeds to clean up the stained blood on the restroom floor to make the scene look all the much more cleaner. He puts the mop back, but something in the stall catches his eye. He discovers that his blood was spilled and realized that he had cut himself.
I'm bleeding. I must have cut my wrist with a knife. Both of my forearms are cut too.
With him noticing the blood dripping from the slits of his forearm, he heads to the sink to get himself cleaned up, knowing that it'll raise suspicions and unwanted attention if he were to leave the restroom with his wounds exposed, especially with a cop eating at the same diner. Just as he finished cleansing up his wound, he notices the steak knife he used to murder the old man with.
The knife. I've got to get rid of it.
And he hid it in a vent by the last toilet. Now that the scene is all cleaned up and his wounds are hidden, Lucas is feeling a little less uneasy about the situation. Anxious, but not out of control, and poised enough to walk through the diner without raising any suspicions or turning any heads. In fact, he was so poised that he even decided to sit back down and continue eating his meal to further disregard any rising suspicion. But as he's eating his meal, he notices that there's a cup of coffee on the other side of the table as if he had a guest with him. But he doesn't seem to remember anyone accompanying him. It's strange, but Lucas didn't let it weigh on his mind.
Coffee? I never drink it. I hate it. Was I with someone? I can't remember anything at all.
He paid the bill and headed out of the door. But just as it seems he made it out of the diner scot-free, he forgot about the novel he was reading, leaving it behind as a clue for detectives to use in the investigation. Seconds later, the cop who was sitting at the bar feels the urge to use the restroom. When he enters the restroom, he notices a trail of blood streaming from the stall which the body was hidden in. He realizes that a man has been murdered and ordered that no one was to leave the restaurant, for there has been a crime committed. But Lucas was so poised with his escape that the cop didn't even realize that Lucas, the suspect, was already on a cab headed back to his apartment.
Nobody goes anywhere. A crime has just been committed. I'm going to have to ask you to stay calm and wait here for the police to arrive and check your IDs.
Although he was able to get out of the diner without anyone noticing him, he couldn't escape the eyes of a homeless man resting outside the diner in the New York winter snow. Minutes later, NYPD detectives Carla Valenti and Tyler Miles arrive on the scene. These two detectives are playable characters in this game, and they witness the story from a law enforcement perspective. I will be making individual videos on how their mental state was affected throughout the story as well, but for now we're strictly focusing on Lucas's perspective, and he isn't aware of the current state of the crime scene.
A nightmare. It was all just a horrible nightmare. I didn't kill anyone. I wasn't dreaming. It all really happened. I'm gonna get ready and go to work. Oh, my head. It feels like somebody shoved a steel bar in my brain and it stop.
Lucas was still tense from last night's events, not to mention the dizziness and brain fog he was experiencing, so he took some pills to clear his mind of the trauma.
Notice reads, "Don't take with alcohol."
The intensity and mental anguish was seized, and Lucas Kane was back to feeling like his ordinary self again.
The sheets are full of blood. I can't go back to bed. I'm not tired anyway. This will hide the blood in case anyone comes in the room.
An interesting thing happened once Lucas gazed at a picture of the younger version of himself standing with his family. He gets a little emotional and says,
"My parents, Marcus and me, before the accident."
Hinting that something tragic happened. It even caused his mental state to dip a little. This is interesting and probably hinting towards something that happened in his past that'll be revealed later in the story. He steps out of his room and surprisingly gets a call from his brother Marcus, who is a priest. This is how the conversation goes.
Hello?
Lucas, it's good to hear from you. I thought I called to find out if maybe you wanted to go to Mom and Dad's tomb together. And to be honest, I thought it might be a good excuse to get back in touch with you.
I need to see you, Marcus. I'm in big trouble.
What are you talking about, Lucas? What happened?
I can't really talk about it on the telephone. It's serious, Marcus.
I'll meet you in half an hour at the park.
See you there.
So now we know that Lucas's parents are deceased. Their death could probably be involved with that incident he mentioned back when he was looking at that old photo. Also, this conversation might have given Lucas some comfort, considering the fact that it boosted his mental state. Or maybe it's just him getting the opportunity to get some of what he's going through off his chest, and not keeping it all bottled up inside.
Yesterday, at 7:30 p.m.
Lucas, it's Tiffany. I thought maybe I'd pop over tomorrow night after I leave the hospital and pick up a few things. Well, call me back.
As he leaves the kitchen, he notices a blood-stained shirt that he was wearing on the night of the murder, and this jogs his memory back to the troubling event.
The clothes that I was wearing last night, they're covered in blood. I better not leave them there.
He looked terrified, but to my surprise, this occurrence didn't have any effects on his mental health, so he goes ahead and begins cleaning himself up before heading out. After he takes his morning shower, he begins wrapping up his wounds with gauze tape. But as he shuts the medicine cabinet, the face of the man he murdered last night appears in the mirror standing right over Lucas's shoulder. He quickly turns back with anxiety running through his body, just to realize that no one was there. And this shook Lucas up pretty bad, causing his mental state to drop from neutral to an intense state. So now he's jumpy and a bit on edge. And right after this odd hallucination, Lucas gets a vision of a cop knocking on his door. Good thing he already cleaned up all the evidence that was laid around his house.
New York police, please open the door. Hey, what's that? Stay where you are and put your hands in the air.
These images in my head, I must be losing my mind.
He gets dressed and proceeds to leave his apartment until he notices a newspaper slipped under his doorframe.
Massacre in East End restaurant. An especially horrible murder was committed last night in the restroom of a local restaurant. The killer is a man in his 30s of average height with brown hair. Police are already searching for the man and will be releasing a composite sketch in the next few days.
To add insult to injury, the cop from his vision actually shows up.
New York police, please open the door.
Police, they know. They've come to arrest me.
Open up.
Just a minute, I'm coming.
I can't let them find any evidence linking me to last night. I've got a couple seconds to hide everything before I get the door.
So Lucas runs to every room in his apartment to make sure that there is no evidence from last night's murder present that the cop could potentially see. Everything's clear, and Lucas decides to open the door.
I'm sorry to make you wait like that. I was in the shower.
Are you Lucas Kane?
Yes.
Mr. Kane, the neighbors heard yelling from your apartment. Is there a problem?
Oh, yeah, that was me. I cut myself on some broken glass, and I freaked out a little. Fortunately, it wasn't a really big deal.
Would it be all right if I took a little look around your apartment?
Whatever. Go ahead.
What happened to your wrist, sir?
I told you I had a stupid accident with some broken glass.
Holy cow. When you cut yourself, you go all the way, don't you? Thank you for your cooperation. Sorry to have bothered you, sir. You know how it is. With everything that's been going on, we prefer to be careful.
I understand.
Go on, Mr. Kane.
Relief flows through Lucas's body as he shuts the door behind the cop, causing all that tension to leave. He now feels a little less worrisome about his situation. But this wouldn't last for very long. He turns on the news and it's a report on the murder, and this causes his mind to descend into madness.
The body of a man was discovered in the restroom of an East End restaurant. The victim was stabbed several times with a steak knife, while just yards away, other customers were calmly eating their meals. Investigators are already on the trail of a suspect who fled the scene just before the body was discovered. Police have no other comment for the time being, but stay tuned for updates into this.
The victim was stabbed several times with a steak knife. Stabbed several times with a steak knife.
At this point, you can see just how mentally taxing this is on Lucas Kane. His mental state is constantly jumping up and down. Hopefully this doesn't cause him to spiral out of control. He plays some music to ease the pain, then steps out on the balcony to gauge the weather before he leaves out, only to notice that the crow that was present at last night's murder was sitting on his balcony rail. But I don't even know if Lucas knew that the crow was even present at last night's murder, cause then again, it's just a damn crow. After this mentally dreadful morning, Lucas is finally out of the door.
When Marcus and I were kids, we were inseparable. He's the one who took care of me after our parents died. We kind of grew apart after he became a priest. But he's still the only person I really trust. The only one who might believe that I had nothing to do with all this mess.
So that earlier spike in Lucas's mental health when he picked up Marcus's call back in the apartment was indeed a result of Marcus being a shoulder he can lean on. Considering that they grew up as tight-knit siblings and grew apart due to religious beliefs, I guess it's good to finally get back in contact with him and talk to someone who actually understands you.
I'm happy to see you. I missed you. It's been a while.
As soon as he hears Marcus's voice, it offers him a sense of comfort, allowing him to come out of that intense state. Now let's take a listen in on the conversation and see which direction it ends up going in.
2 years.
So tell me what's happened, Lucas.
I've killed a man, Marcus. It happened at a restaurant last night. It's like I was possessed, in a sort of trance, like I was a puppet on a string. I saw what I was doing, but I was powerless to stop it.
My can't believe this, Lucas. Tell me that it wasn't you. You're not capable of something like that. This murder. Exactly how did it happen?
Well, after work last night, I stopped at a little diner to get something to eat. I read a book at my table, I think. And after it's just a black hole. I don't remember anything. Right up until I found myself in the toilets with a knife in my hand. It was horrible.
You went to this restaurant alone?
Yeah. Tiffany and I, we broke up about a month ago. I try to get out of the apartment as much as possible. It's just so empty there without her, you know.
You say that you were in a sort of a trance. But what do you mean by that? You talking about magic? Or sorcery? Or something like that?
Marcus, I don't have an explanation. I'm just telling you what happened, that's all. I'm only certain about one thing. I'm not the one who really killed that man.
Had you been drinking or taking drugs?
You know that I don't do that, Marcus. While I was doing this horrible thing, I saw something, or rather someone.
Was somebody else there with you?
No, it was like a sort of vision. I saw a man in the middle of hundreds of candles, and there was this little girl.
You saw a little girl?
She seemed alone, lost. She asked me to help her. What happened to me, Marcus? What am I supposed to do now? You know me better than anyone, Marcus. Help me.
Listen, Lucas, I'm a bit lost here. This whole story is just so bizarre. Maybe you need some professional help. Most cases of possession are known to actually stem from psychiatric problems.
Marcus, I don't have a psychiatric problem. I'm not crazy.
I am a priest, Lucas. The fact that you have taken a life is a very serious matter.
I told you that it wasn't me, Marcus. All these years and nothing's changed. You still never listen to me.
Lucas, don't ask me to make a choice between my faith and my brother.
I'm not a murderer, Marcus. You're the only person I can trust. I'm just asking you to believe me.
Very well. I'll do whatever I can for you, but I can't do anything that goes against my beliefs.
Look, I need to get some answers. I'll call you.
Here. You need this more than I do.
Marcus, you know that I don't believe in all that. Thanks.
So we do get a better understanding of how Lucas's point of view actually was during the murder. Obviously he wasn't in his right mind, and by the description of it, it does confirm that he was possessed. But Marcus doesn't seem to be buying into that, and he's really questioning him from a logical perspective. And this exposes some potential past tension in their relationship. As Lucas says, all these years and you never listened to me. I wonder what he could possibly be referring to. But although Marcus is a man who strictly abides by his faith, Lucas did a good job convincing him that something supernatural may have occurred. And I don't think Marcus is fully sold on that, but he's sold enough to keep the confession confidential. And what do you know, the Crow is present in this scene as well.
He's gonna slip on the ice. I've got to stop him. The cop in the restaurant. If I don't do something, the child will die. If I do something, the cop will recognize me. What am I gonna do?
Now you see the scenario, a battle for morality. If you save the boy, you're getting spotted by the cops. You lead the boy to drown, you're home free. Now let's find out if Lucas is selfish or selfless.
There he is. He's lost consciousness. Quick, I've got to go back up before I run out of air.
Not only did he pull the young boy from the bottom of the lake, but he resuscitated his life as well. And also knowing that the cop from last night will for sure recognize him, they even locked eyes. I guess karma is real, and no one could explain it better than Lucas Kane himself.
The cop recognized me. We both knew it. It's hard to say why he didn't turn me in. Maybe he decided I was even. I had taken a life and given one back. Nothing really changed for me. I was still wanted for murder by the police. But when I left that park, I knew I could look myself in the mirror again without cringing.
Although Lucas made a morally sound decision in the park, it wasn't enough to rid him of physical defeat, but symptoms like
I was burning with fever. I was shaking all over. The migraine was back and drilling holes into my brain. And to top it off, I couldn't keep enough food down. My body seemed to be fighting against something, but I still didn't know what. Gotta just live my life no matter what. Don't raise any suspicions. Despite the state I was in, I decided to go to work as though nothing had happened.
So now we know Lucas's occupation. He works at Nacer and Jones Bank. Hopefully he can get through his shift without his physical sickness taking a toll on him. And even though the sickness had him vomited in the toilet, his mental health is still at a healthy state. With all the madness that happened so far, who knows what can make Lucas feel insane again.
I'm in charge of computer maintenance in the Nacer and Jones Bank. I share my office with Warren.
Do you know what time it is? What's wrong with you?
I had a little problem on the way back in. I had to go back home and change my clothes.
That guy is so bizarre. He gives me the creeps.
What'd you say?
What?
You were saying something?
No, I didn't say anything. Are you sure you're all right, Lucas?
I heard something, as though I could read his mind. Tiffany and I. About 2 years ago, I guess. I haven't been able to throw it away yet.
So Tiffany is Lucas Kane's ex-girlfriend. She's the one who left a voicemail saying that she'll be coming by to pick some things up later on. Lucas seems to get pretty emotional when he thinks about their breakup, so hopefully he can rekindle some things when she comes over. Maybe re-spark the match or something.
Lucas? You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Another hallucination that causes mental health to tank. If these keep occurring, it might just make him go off the rails, considering how much damage it's doing to his psyche. The other day, he just got possessed and killed a man. Now everywhere he looks, his mind is playing tricks on him. The type of turmoil will make any man go crazy.
Lucas Kane.
Hello, Lucas.
Oh, hello, Tiffany.
I left a message on your machine last night. I'd like to come and pick up some stuff at your place. Could I come over tonight?
I should be back home around 8 o'clock tonight.
Okay, it won't take too long. Are you doing okay, Lucas?
I gotta let you go. I'm doing a thing here. Bye.
And look who it is. Not too much can be said about that interaction, but we all saw that spike in his mental state.
Look out, the cop!
Lucas, is there a problem?
No, I just thought... It seemed so real. I saw that coffee cup fall.
Hello? Yes, sir. We'll get on that right away. Station 62 is down. I'll go.
No, forget it. I'll handle it.
Whatever you say.
It happened. Just like I'd seen it. Like the cop in the apartment. Is it possible that I can really see things before they happen? It's snowing again. And the weather forecast predicts another drop in temperature over the next few days.
So that ability to see events before they manifest in reality actually backfired. I'm surprised that guy just shrugged it off like that. It's probably because he already thinks Lucas is a pretty weird guy and he doesn't really want to have any further conversation with him.
faces of the same serpent. One in our world, the other in the other world. Woe to he who sees both sides of the snake.
No! Lucas? Lucas, what happened? Could you hear me? Are you all right? Hey, you've hurt yourself. You're bleeding.
I gotta go. I didn't have the slightest idea what had happened. The one thing I do know, Those things almost killed me.
Okay. Okay, what the hell just happened? This man Lucas is officially out of his mind. This hallucination was the most severe one yet, and it seems as if those bugs actually tried to kill him, even though the bugs were only an attack on the psyche and not actually a physical manifestation. And that was crazy and all, but I'm more focused on what the guy who Lucas killed had said when he approached him. Let's listen to it again.
Two faces of the same serpent. One in our world, the other in the other world. Woe to he who sees both sides of the snake.
So the statement about the two-headed snakes and how one head leads to another world, it might be referring to the hallucinations that Lucas is having. Could Lucas possibly be looking into another world every time he hallucinates? Because when he says, woe to he who sees both sides of the snakes, it could be hinting that Lucas is seeing into the other world that normal humans can't see with their naked eye. And woe means to have great sorrow or distress. And Lucas is definitely experiencing great sorrow and distress every time he hallucinates.
I felt empty. After what happened at the office, I began to wonder if I wasn't going nuts. I'm so totally exhausted that I can't fall asleep. I'm afraid of the dreams I might have. I wander around the room a little. I guess I'll go to sleep when I can't keep my eyes open any longer.
Yo, that's actually a scary position to be in mentally. I used to get sleep paralysis every time I woke up, and when I would try to move, it'd literally feel like my movements were restricted or somebody was holding me down, but it wasn't to the point where I was afraid to go to sleep. But if I was having those type of visions, it would have been a lot of sleepless nights, either that or sleep to my back to the wall with all the lights on. Since just sitting on the couch and watching TV couldn't rid his mind of the horrifying visions, Lucas decides to get a quick workout in.
Something is changing inside me. I'm stronger and quicker. My God, what's happening to me?
So not only is he experiencing supernatural mental abilities, but supernatural physical abilities as well. So Tiffany ends up coming through and not much ends up happening, just some small talk that doesn't really lead anywhere. They both admit that they miss each other, and Lucas saw this as an opportunity to rekindle things. He leans in for a kiss, only to get denied, and damn, that must hurt. And it did, causing him to feel stressed out all over again. He thought about it for a while and felt that it was for the best. He wasn't in his right mind and admitted that he couldn't offer anything to a relationship at this point. With nothing left to do, he went ahead to sleep. The crow was here again and all of his windows are open. I'm curious to see what this crow symbolizes, or who does it actually belong to.
That little girl again. She seems so real. I must be losing my mind.
And this is exactly what Lucas was afraid of. He'd rather lie awake all night than to have another nightmare. He went from a neutral state of mind to stressed to now anxious in one night in his apartment. His mental health is now on a downward spiral. If it doesn't start trending upward soon, he just might lose it.
10 years. 10 years since my parents were killed in a car accident. I've never completely recovered from losing them. You never really get over something like that. Considering all that's been happening to me lately, I thought maybe I should go and meditate at their grave a little this morning.
So Lucas provides some clarity about what actually happened to his parents. They died 10 years ago in a car accident, and he mentioned that he's still coping with it to this day.
I'm happy that you could come.
It makes it all the much more tragic when you realize that his parents were fairly young when they passed, with his dad being 50 years old and his mom only being 48.
Lucas, come on, Lucas, come and play. You can't spend your whole life just sitting in the corner. Lucas. Lucas, you coming?
I don't want to, Marcus. Leave me alone.
I've about had it with you, Lucas. You're always off by yourself, you never talk to anyone, you never play with anyone. I'm starting to think maybe you're crazy. You're weird, that's for sure.
Is that bad?
Come on, do me a favor. Just play with everybody this one time.
How about hide and seek? We could go play in Hangar 4.
No way! You know we're not allowed to play in there.
Who cares? We can get in through that hole in the fence like last time. Nobody will see us. We can get inside the hangar from the back door.
Good idea. Let's do it.
Are you coming with us, Lucas?
So Lucas gets a vision of the hangar they were playing hide and seek in catching fire. So the visions that he's having aren't a result of the murder ritual, since they've been occurring since he was a child. Something else must be at play here. He rushes to where they were hiding, but wasn't able to save all the boys from the fire in time, causing some of them to lose their life. And this reminiscence weigh heavy on Lucas, causing his mental health to dip again.
I did a little checking around, without giving your name, obviously. I was told about a person who is familiar with, let's say, unusual phenomena. I think that maybe she could help you. Here, this is her address. You know that I don't believe in any of this, Lucas, but I sincerely hope that she can give you some kind of answer.
I hope so too.
So Marcus is still not a believer in the supernatural things that are happening to Lucas, not meaning that he doesn't believe Lucas's story, but meaning that he doesn't necessarily believe that the cause of it was something supernatural or spiritual, and just believing the cause of it to be quite simple, that his brother has gone mad. And even though he's not really believing Lucas, he still throws him a bone by giving him a contact to a spiritual specialist.
Here it is. Is there anyone here?
As Lucas makes his way through Agatha's house, the spiritual specialist he's going to see, he finds a room full of crows. Now I know one of these crows is the one that have been lurking in the background of every scene that has something to do with this new character Agatha.
Are those crows in the cages? Is anyone at home? Are you Agatha?
Why do you want to talk to Agatha?
My name is Lucas Kane. I have a problem and I need to speak to her about it.
A problem? And who on earth doesn't have problems? One need not have eyes to see. Be kind, young man. Push me over to my birds. It'll be more comfortable for us to talk over there.
Her and the crow must be linked psychologically or something.
The bird is such a unique animal. It can spend its entire life locked up in a cage and yet still keep on singing away. What brings you here, young man? Tell me, what is your cage like?
I killed a man. It was like I was possessed. I watched it all happen, but I had no control over my actions.
Sounds like a rather commonplace story to me. Don't you think that it might simply be because you've gone mad?
I had a vision of another man, making exactly the same movements as me, and of a little girl who called out to me for help.
In the cupboard, you will find a little bag of seeds. Be a good boy. Feed some to my little darlings, will you? Have you experienced any other strange manifestations since then? Have you had any odd dreams or visions?
Yes, I see things as if the reality in front of me was deforming, becoming horrible.
Are you able to attach anything concrete to your visions, such as a symbol or sign, maybe a word?
When I regained control of myself after the murder, this symbol had been cut into my wrist with a knife.
A snake. 2 open jaws. Oh, dear God.
What does it mean?
There's only one way for me to be sure. Please, push me into the sitting room.
Okay, so the man Lucas killed had told us about the 2-headed snakes with open jaws and how they lead to another world. And that symbol is carved into Lucas's forearms. This symbol must really mean something deep.
The only way to understand what has happened to you is to try to go deep into your unconscious memory. Whoever it was that forced you to commit this murder has erased himself from your memory. But there still must be a trace in your unconscious. I can help you to locate it. It's an exhausting ceremony, and there's always a risk involved. Do you, or do you not wish to try it?
Yes, I do.
Give me your hands. Now, close your eyes. I want you to empty your mind and open wide the doors to your unconscious. And let me enter there. That's it. We're still together. Lucas, Are you there?
Yes.
I want you to return to the restaurant just before the events began. Evacuate all extraneous thoughts and wonder. Where are you, Lucas?
I'm standing outside the restaurant.
I want you to enter the restaurant now.
Hopefully we could get some insight on where that second coffee cup came from. Remember, there was another cup at the table that Lucas didn't order, and from the detective's point of view, they discovered that the cup had no prints on it other than the waitress.
I've gone into the restaurant.
What do you see?
I see some customers, and I see the waitress.
Can you see the table where you were sitting?
I'm looking. There's a police officer. He's sitting at the counter.
Concentrate, Lucas. Now, walk to your table.
I'm standing next to my table, but it's empty.
You haven't arrived and sat down there yet?
Yes, I have. My meal is already on the table. I think this is when I murdered him.
Stay calm, Lucas. I want you to tell me exactly where you are.
I'm in the restroom, and so is the other man.
What's he doing?
He's urinating. He doesn't suspect anything.
And you, Lucas? Where are you?
I don't know. I can't see myself. There I am. I was in a toilet stall. Oh my God. I'm holding a knife. He doesn't see me.
Calm yourself, Lucas. Keep your concentration.
I can't control my steps. I'm walking up behind the man. He doesn't see me. I don't want to. But I can't stop myself.
I want you to re-enter the restaurant. But now, it is prior to going into the toilet stall. Do you understand, Lucas? Before. Where are you now?
I'm in the restaurant dining room again.
Are you sitting at your table?
Yes, I am. I can see myself.
What are you doing, Lucas?
I'm eating. I'm eating and reading a book.
A book?
Yes. Shakespeare. The Tempest.
What else do you see?
As I told thee before, I am subject to a tyrant, a sorcerer, that by his cunning hath cheated me of the island.
What did you say?
It's a passage from Shakespeare's Tempest. That's what you're reading, is it not?
Yes. Someone's coming toward me. A man.
Who is it? A customer?
I don't know. I think so. I can't see his face.
And what does he say to you?
I don't know. I can't remember.
You must concentrate, Lucas. You need to remember.
It's one of my favorite books. A shame so few people read Shakespeare these days. Would you mind if I sat down for a moment?
It's just that the man sat down at my table and now the waitress is coming.
Sir?
A coffee, please.
The waitress. It's as if she didn't see the man, like he was invisible.
So much has been written about the Tempest, especially concerning the theme of magic.
And now, what's happening, Lucas?
I don't know. The man gives off a very strange energy. It's hard to describe.
Go on, Lucas. What happens after that?
Do you believe in the power of magic?
No, I don't. Listen,
You're wrong. You know there's much more to our universe than can be perceived by the naked eye.
Your coffee, sir.
Thanks, Kate.
The waitress has brought him his coffee, but she's talking to me as if I was the one who ordered it. She doesn't know that he's there. She can't see him.
And this is because she doesn't have the ability to see into the other world through the two-headed snake like Lucas can while he's under this hypnosis. And the man sitting on the other side is obviously a being that can't be perceived by the ordinary human eye. Because when this originally happened, Lucas wasn't even aware that a strange entity was sitting on the other side of him, let alone ordering coffee and having an actual conversation with him. This is an important cutscene for gaining some intel on the ritual and this entity. I'm gonna keep the commentary to a minimum.
listen, I don't want to be rude, but I'd rather eat alone.
I'm paralyzed. I can't feel my body. I can't move.
The man, Lucas. Where is the man?
He stood up. He's gone out. He's in my head now. He controls me.
Follow the man, Lucas. Hurry. I command you to follow that man closely.
He's going out the rear door.
Follow him. Your mind and his are now linked. You can see what he sees.
You know who that man was, don't you, Agatha?
No, I don't know. I'm not sure who he is.
Yes, you do know who he is. You understood it all as soon as you felt the scars on my arms. What do these symbols mean, Agatha? Tell me what that man's done to me.
You should go now, Lucas. There's nothing more that I can do for you.
You could at least explain what the hell's happening to me. He made me kill a man. I want to know. I need to know.
I have to verify certain things. There's nothing more I can tell you today. Come back tomorrow night at the same time. I'll explain more then.
She's definitely hiding something. She might have known that the ritual was going to take place before it actually did. That crow has been following Lucas around the whole story and was present at the scene before Lucas even entered the bathroom. I'm starting to think that she could possibly see through those crow's eyes, because when he first met her, she said one doesn't need eyes to see, and then asked him to push her in the room full of crows.
Lucas Kane.
following story haunted me all night long. I had to see him, to talk to him. I had to find out what Agatha had told him. I wanted to look my brother in the eye and hear the truth. I'd never been to his apartment before, and it took me some time to find it.
So that entity didn't only attack his psychosis, he attacked his physical body as well, and left him hanging off the side of his balcony.
Lucas Kane, that's it. Lucas? Lucas, open the door! Lucas! I could swear that I heard a scream coming from inside. The doorman said Lucas was at home, but he isn't opening. Lucas is in danger. I've got no other choice. Lucas! Oh my God!
He must really think his brother's a nut now.
Lucas, for God's sake! Have you lost your mind? What's come over you?
The walls were blown away, and the wind, the tempest,
Why did you do this, Lucas? Why?
Somebody tried to kill me.
For heaven's sake, Lucas! There's no one else here but you and I. You were all alone when I arrived. All alone, Lucas!
What's happening to me, Marcus? I don't know what's happening!
It'll be all right, Lucas. Everything will be fine. I'm gonna help you. You'll see.
Man, Lucas looked defeated. Look how he just stayed lying in that awkward position. You could see the fear in his eyes, then curling into a fetal position to comfort himself. Any situation that'll make a grown man whimper into another grown man's arms is something that's hitting a little bit too hard.
I finally convinced Marcus to let me go out. I'd slept most of the day, and he'd stayed to watch over me. I needed to get out and get back in touch with reality. My physical condition was deteriorating rapidly. My mental state wasn't much better. I could feel myself slipping away. I knew that it wouldn't be long before I lost it.
Hello, Detective Taylor Miles, New York Police.
The police, they found me.
Now that was a vision of an NYPD detective coming into Lucas's job. While Lucas was battling for his mental health and sanity, the police department was doing all that they could do to close in on any potential suspects of the dining room murder, and their leads pointed them directly in Lucas's direction.
A torn piece of computer paper. I think I must have used it for a bookmark. Uh-oh, I'd better try to hide this.
Hello, I'm Detective Tyler Miles, New York Police. Are you Lucas Kane? I've just got a couple of questions for you.
You've got questions you need to ask me?
Nothing personal, don't worry. Your boss told me that you were in charge of computer maintenance. I just have a couple of questions. It won't take long.
What do you want to know?
Could you confirm that this list came from here at the bank? I wonder if he's going to say anything about the watermark.
The paper does come from here. It has our bank ID code and the watermark.
Is there a way to establish where it was printed from? The manager already filled me in, but maybe we can learn something more.
This kind of paper is used by stock buyers to print out their quotes. There's about 100 of them here in the bank.
This guy seems really tense. Probably nervous about being questioned by the police.
Is there a problem, Mr. Kane?
Huh? Oh, no, sorry.
Is there a way to determine where this particular document was printed out? What's his problem? Seems like my questions are upsetting him.
No, not really. Our printers don't leave any identifiable marks.
A witness helped us make a composite photo of the suspect. Would you mind taking a look at it for us? Hey, are you all right, sir?
Yes, I'm fine. I feel tense. I've got to keep cool.
This remind you of anyone?
Hey, this looks like a lot of people I know. Could even be me.
Yeah, you're right. These composite photos can be a little vague. Yo, this is weird. The composite looks just like this guy right here. Sir, are you sure that you're all right?
I thought that... Excuse me.
Have you noticed anything unusual here at the bank lately? They already told me about what happened to this guy yesterday. I wonder if he's going to mention it.
Yes, well, actually, I'm susceptible to epileptic seizures. They're fairly rare, but they can be violent. In fact, I had one yesterday, and I'm afraid I put on quite a show. But that's about the only unusual thing that's happened here recently.
That's weird. His forearms are bandaged. I wonder what happened to him. Did something happen to your arms?
Oh, I had a stupid accident doing some home repair work. I guess I'm not much of a Mr. Fix-It guy.
Hey, is that you in the picture with the priest? Is he a friend of yours? That priest looks a lot like him. Maybe a member of his family?
That's my brother, Marcus.
Sir, are you sure you're feeling all right? You don't look so good.
I might have a little cold.
Yeah, he's definitely buying that one.
Yo, he's lying straight up. I can smell it. Damn, maybe this is our guy right here. Stranger things have happened.
I'm not feeling very well. I'm just gonna go and splash some water on my face.
You go right ahead. I'll wait for you here. You feeling better?
Yes, thanks.
Well, I don't have any more questions. I'll let you get back to work. Thank you for your cooperation, sir.
This is the first interaction between two of the three playable characters. Lucas did a pretty good job with answering the questions, but he looked like a total nut. The weird bugs kept appearing, and he couldn't keep his composure. His mental state is now at the lowest it's been yet, and damn near down the drain. It might be difficult, but he has to get it together.
The noose is tightening. The police are closing in on me. They'll be back, and next time, they'll take me in. Agatha was my last chance. She's the only one who seems to understand what's happening to me. I just hope this time she'll give me some answers.
Lucas seems pretty joyous about his returns to Agatha's. He's actually panting, probably because she's the only one providing some clarity about what's happening to him.
Agatha? Agatha! It's Lucas!
Someone just went out the window.
Sir, I need to get your name before I can record your message. Sir, the police cruiser will be there in just a few minutes. Can you hear me, sir?
Agatha!
With the police closing in on the scene with another dead body present, and Lucas being in the same room, he had no choice but to head out the window. But who was responsible for this?
New York Police, anybody there? Hey, Kevin, call an ambulance. There's a body on the floor.
Sorry, we're closed. Come back tomorrow.
Oh, I won't be long. Naster nagdilan, regibini nasakwen, kastanekli, kwadiklana, kwentana.
Another ritual just occurred, but this time Lucas only had a vision of it, and it was the same entity that was responsible for the first murder, because Agatha did say that him and Lucas' minds were now intertwined, and Lucas could now see what he sees.
It happened again. Somebody died in the lavomatic. I saw it like I was there. Agatha's dead, so who's gonna tell me what's going on?
Put your hands in the air.
Damn, the police. They already found me. I'll spend the rest of my days rotting in prison, and I'll never find out what really happened. No, it's not gonna happen like that.
New York Police. Don't move.
just did? Shit, that's crazy.
We need to catch him. Next time, we won't get away.
This is by far my favorite playable cutscene in the game. We saw a little bit of his physical supernatural abilities when he kicked the heavy bag off the harness, but this right here was on a whole nother level. He was able to move that first officer with some divine force like he was airbending, then juking through all those cars and jumping onto a helicopter. That boy was dodging bullets Matrix style. The only thing he didn't do was fly. Now how can the NYPD possibly explain that? But the more important question is, where does he go from here?
Agatha? Agatha, is that you? I thought you were...
Dead. In a way. But I promised to tell you what I know. And I always keep my word. Listen carefully, Lucas. We have very little time. You are not insane. Neither are you a murderer. You are simply at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Why did they pick me? Why did they want to kill that guy?
Pure chance. They just needed one man to kill another in order to open the mouth of the serpents. You're not the first to be chosen to perform the sacrifice. And certainly not the last.
Then who made me commit that murder? Who came and sat down at my table in the restaurant?
No one knows his real name. They call him the Oracle. He serves the most powerful of the powerful. They live in shadow, but they have controlled this world since the dawn of time.
So the guy in the thumbnail was not Lucas Kane, but a guy named Anton Janus. He was another pawn in the ritual just like Lucas, just another average man that was at the wrong place at the wrong time and ended up going insane. He has the two-headed serpent symbol carved into his forearms, and he can see everything that the Oracle can see, just like Lucas can. And in an interview with NYPD detective Carla Valenti, he really breaks down the origins behind the lore of the Oracle. But for now, we're just gaining an understanding from Lucas's perspective to see how he perceived things as a victim. But in Carla's episode, we'll see a totally different perspective and details of the history of the Oracle.
They're coming. Save yourself, Lucas. They want your life. Kuwait-Nitlan, in the ancient Mayan civilization. You'll find some of the answers you seek there.
Agatha? Agatha!
So the Oracle right now is trying to kill Lucas by taking the form of two angels and attacking him in a mental hypnosis that also manifests itself in reality. Luckily, Lucas was able to escape them, but still appears as a nut to his brother.
Lucas! Lucas, wake up! What are you doing here? What happened? The police found me. I managed to get away. I walked all night. I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I came here.
My God. This time you really have to go to the police, Lucas. There is no other solution.
I'm not turning myself in until I understand what happened. Something strange is happening to me, Marcus. Since the murder, I find I can do abnormal things. I see visions of certain events before they happen. Sometimes I can even hear what people are thinking. And my body has become much stronger and faster.
Nobody has powers like that. You're not turning into a Superman, Lucas.
I saw Agatha again. Here, just a while ago. She's dead, but she had some things to tell me. I think she wants to help me.
Agatha is dead? Are you telling me that you...
No, I didn't kill Agatha, Marcus. She was dead by the time I got there.
But you're saying that you talked to a dead person? None of this makes any sense. So what are you going to do? You can't stay here. The police will certainly come to question me, and probably place me under surveillance.
I have to find some place to hide. I'm a fugitive. My description will go out everywhere. At least now I know that there is an explanation. I need to find the people who are behind all of this.
Be careful, Lucas. They'll kill you if they get the chance.
Nothing could be worse than what I see in my visions. Agatha talked about the Mayans. It's vague, but it's all I've got to go on. I've got to find a place to hide while I figure this out. There's only one person who can help me.